So as we just heard, the North Korean leader will be traveling to China in what will be a landmark visit as China has been pushing for a new Beijing-led world order. For more on this, we're joined by Professor Brian Myers, Professor of International Studies at Dongseo University. Professor Myers, thanks for joining us this morning.
Sure thing.
So Kim Jong-un is expected to join Putin and other leaders in China next week to attend a military parade there to mark Victory Day, or the 80th anniversary of Japan's surrender in World War II. What's behind China's decision to invite the North Korean leader, and could this serve as an opportunity for North Korea, China, and Russia to strengthen their cooperation?
Well, it would have been weird if China had not invited Kim. He's a friendly leader of an allied neighboring country, and his very own grandfather, Kim Il-sung, fought against the Japanese in a Chinese uniform. So there's a shared tradition there. For years now, the Western world has been saying that China and North Korea are drifting apart, but I think that's wishful thinking. There are differences here, but they're getting along a lot better than some countries in NATO are. So I think the parade will be more than just a show of unity. It's also going to be an occasion for deepening it. Now, Putin and Kim do take a more confrontational stance toward America than Xi Jinping, who I think is much more interested in reaching an agreement with President Trump. But even so, all three leaders share a commitment to defending national sovereignty against the forces of globalism. So I expect them to put their time in Beijing to good use by discussing various forms of cooperation, military, economic, whatever.
Right, and this is believed to be Kim Jong-un's first international level meeting with other world leaders, right? What might North Korea hope to gain from participating in the event like this in China?
Well, you know, it's going to be weird seeing him at a multilateral summit, especially for the North Korean people who are used to him being the center of attention in one-on-one summits. But if Kim has decided to attend, it's because he knows that the optics are going to reassure the North Korean people that their country has really arrived on the world stage. The decades of efforts to isolate it have failed completely. I don't think Kim is going to use the occasion for serious diplomacy, because he likes to play China and Russia off against each other a bit, and he can't do that if Putin is in town at the same time. But this whole display in Beijing is meant to send a message to the world, and not just to the US and NATO, but also to the growing number of countries who want an alternative to the US dollar, that this anti-globalist bloc, which North Korea is a part of, is united, it's thriving, and it's not going to back down.
I see. And, you know, South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung recently met with President Donald Trump in Washington, and Trump said he wants to meet North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un this year. And President Lee also asked Trump to play the role of peacemaker, saying Trump was the only person who can actually solve tensions between the two Koreas. So how likely is it that Trump will be able to bring North Korea back to the negotiating table?
Well, let's put it this way. If Kim does come back to the table, it's not going to be because of President Trump's personal charm or outreach this time. It's going to be because the United States drops the demand for denuclearization in advance in secret negotiations on the working level. Otherwise, I think Kim is not going to do it. He's not going to risk another media circus that could end as badly as the last one did in Hanoi 6 years ago. And I don't see how a breakthrough can take place so long as North Korea is continuing to fight against Ukraine. Because Kim is not going to abandon Putin during a war that is now going pretty well for both of those allies, just to get a deal with America that could fall through at any time. America's broken a lot of big agreements with Russia and Iran. And of course, America has many reasons not to trust Kim either. North Korea has a pretty bad record of keeping its promises. So I don't think things will even begin to change substantially until we see a Trump-Putin deal in regard to Ukraine.
I see, and there wasn't any joint document or joint press briefing or anything like that following the summit between Presidents Lee Jae-myung and Trump. And the EU administration still faces a number of pending negotiations with Washington, and that includes the cost sharing of U.S. troops in Korea. How do you expect this issue to play out?
Not very well. You know, the absence of a document or joint statement in Washington was a bad sign. And we're learning more and more these days about the terrible deal that the European Union got from Trump. And we're hearing from the Europeans, there was almost no negotiation. America just pretty much dictated the terms. And the Europeans were so desperate for American military protection that they just accepted everything. Now, if those reports are credible, they indicate that South Korea is going to be in a pretty bad position too. So that nice handwritten note that President Lee received in the White House doesn't mean all that much. South Korea remains economically dependent on the United States. It needs that nuclear umbrella as well. So although I don't expect President Lee to accept all of President Trump's demands, I think America is going to get most of what it wants. And that means that some pain is coming for South Korea in regard to trade and in regard to cost sharing for American troops.
See, we'll have to see how that unfolds. All right, Professor Myers, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.